Today, we are diving into a story about a security flaw so unbelievably basic it allowed researchers to download the public profiles of pretty much every single WhatsApp user on the planet. Some people are actually calling it the largest data leak in history. Now, that's a huge claim, but honestly, the numbers behind it are just staggering. Researchers managed to scrape the data of over 3.5 billion people. Just let that sink in for a minute. That's the entire user base of one of the world's biggest, most used messaging apps. And here's the kicker. If you use WhatsApp, this almost certainly includes you. We're talking your phone number, your name, your profile picture, all of it, just scooped up. So how in the world did something this massive even happen? You're probably picturing some sophisticated team of elite hackers, right? Well, the reality is it's much simpler and frankly way more shocking. This was a fundamental security screw-up. The entire problem boils down to something called rate limiting. Okay, think of it like a bouncer at a club. If you try to run in and out 100 times in a minute, the bouncer's going to stop you. It's a totally standard basic security measure that prevents these kinds of brute force attacks. But here's the thing. On WhatsApp's user lookup feature, that digital security guard was just missing, gone. The door was literally wide open, with no one there to stop an automated attack. So here's exactly how the researchers did it. First, they just created this massive list of potential phone numbers, like 63 billion of them. Then, using a simple open source tool, they just started pinging WhatsApp servers, checking every single one to see if an account existed. And for every hit, boom, they scraped the public data. And this number right here just illustrates the problem perfectly. Because there was no rate limiting, they were able to check 100 million phone numbers every single hour. And get this, all from a single machine with a single IP address. That should have been absolutely impossible. Okay, so they got your number, maybe your name and your photo. You might be thinking, so what? It's kind of public info anyway. But you have to understand, when this kind of data is collected at such a massive scale, it becomes incredibly dangerous. Let's look at the real-world threats here. So to be crystal clear, this is what they scraped for every single user. Your phone number, the name on your profile picture, and whatever you happen to write in your public About section. And believe it or not, that About section is where things get really, really interesting. The researchers found a shocking number of government and military employees just putting their official work emails right there in their public About text. From an operational security standpoint, OPSEC, that is a gigantic mistake. And it wasn't just them. They also found people described as unlicensed pharmacists using that exact same public field to openly advertise what they were selling. This dataset basically became a public directory for all sorts of questionable activities. But here's the most direct threat to you personally. A criminal could take a picture of you, right? Run it through facial recognition against this massive leaked database and instantly find your phone number. And that is a golden ticket for a SIM swap attack. That allows them to take over your bank accounts, your social media, basically your entire digital life. So this whole thing leads to a really fascinating debate. Was this even a vulnerability? Or was WhatsApp just working as intended? The answer to that question tells you a lot about the company's response. Or, more accurately, their initial lack of one. Yeah, this really brings up an interesting point. The feature, being able to find a contact by their phone number, that's core to how WhatsApp works. But the vulnerability was the complete and total absence of rate limiting, which turned that useful feature into a ridiculously powerful tool for mass data scraping. So what happened when the researchers told Meta about this gaping hole in their security? Well, for almost a year, nothing. Crickets. They repeatedly flagged the issue and got pretty much no response. It wasn't until the researchers threatened to go public with their findings that Meta suddenly sprang into action, called an emergency meeting, and finally implemented the fix. Now, the good news is this specific flaw has now been fixed. You can't just scrape data at that insane rate anymore. But the whole incident leaves us with a really critical lesson about just how fragile our digital privacy truly is. And honestly, this quote from the source material just says it all. The technical part of the exploit, that was easy. The hardest part, it seems, was just getting a multi-billion-dollar corporation to even care about a fundamental flaw that exposed its entire user base. Which really leaves us with one final sobering thought. This wasn't some complex super spy level hack, right? It was a basic Security 101 measure that was just missing on one of the biggest platforms in the entire world. So the real question we all have to ask ourselves is, if our data was left this exposed here, how safe is it really anywhere else?